Hey guys, welcome! So the new season of the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip Season 3 is now streaming on Peacock. They released the first 3 episodes today. Let's talk about the first episode. You guys, I loved last season of the Ultimate Girl Trip where it was like the ex-wives club where we had Phaedra, Dorinda, all those cool personalities. So I'm like, they have pretty big shoes to fill, but let me tell you something. From what I'm seeing, it looks like they are going to be coming in pretty good. So it's actually, like I said, giving really fun vibes. I am personally so glad to see Porsha Williams back on television. We have other great personalities. So from Potomac, we have Candiace and Gizelle. From Miami, we're getting Alexia and Marysol. Salt Lake City has Heather and Whitney, and Leah McSweeney from New York. And like I said, Porsha from Atlanta. So they're going to Thailand on this girls trip. And the place they are staying in, wow, it looks like a palace. It's so cool. Some of them know each other. Some of them have like seen each other, like brief interactions. But not everybody knows like all each other all too well. And when the girls arrive at Thailand, which by the way, it was a super long flight, the news about Jen Shah's guilty plea had just been announced publicly. So everybody wanted to question Heather. And almost all of them asked because Heather had been the one who was with her till the end. So apparently, Jen called Heather minutes before going into the courthouse to tell her what she was about to do so that she wouldn't be blindsided. Everybody wants to know if Heather believed that Jen was innocent, which of course she did because it was a full year of her proclaiming her innocence and it was a total shock. But like I said, everybody there is wanting to know, and Heather says, well, she either lied to me or she lied to the judge. That's all I can say. So then they all go to like a Buddha spirit thing and they all go in front of it and they wish what they want this trip to be, and they all say like, you know, have some fun or whatever. Whitney does throw some shade at Gizelle because she says that she doesn't want a lot of drama and she looks directly at her. And then Alexia tells something to Marysol in Spanish, and then Gizelle hears it and says, no Spanish is the rule. Gizelle, si yo hablo español y yo quiero hablar español, yo puedo hablarlo porque ese es mi idioma y si me da la gana decirlo, lo puedo decir. No es ningún problema de tuyo. No, but seriously, like when you speak Spanish, there's sometimes, like when you speak Spanish and English, there's just words that like you'll remember them in Spanish, not in English, so you'll just say them, and they both do that. So they were just communicating with each other, and they weren't even talking about Gizelle. They were talking about something completely different. But anyway, a common fight in all of these housewife shows is when all the girls go on trips, who's going to get the best room? Well, Pepsi, the guy who's in charge of planning the trip, actually chose the rooms, so that eliminates a fight, but Leah did get the worst room. So Gizelle goes over to Porsha's room because they have known each other a little bit more and they're catching up. Porsha says, why is everybody thinking I'm going to get into it with Candiace? But she says that she seems cool. Then Gizelle fills Porsha in with Jen Shah and Heather drama and all that. Gizelle sort of wants Heather to like come out and lash out against Jen Shah to the world. But Gizelle doesn't know how to be a friend, so that's not a surprise to me why she would think that. But okay, so guys, around the time this was filmed, Whitney and Heather were going through their issues in season 3. Now, Gizelle and Candiace also had some tension, but it's important to note this. This girl trip was filmed before the aftermath of their issues and way before the reunion had been filmed. So I think had this been after the reunion, I don't think they would have gone on the trip together because they are not cool whatsoever. So just to give y'all some context. But I guess like the first issue, you could call it, happens with Heather. So Heather is sitting with Gizelle. And Gizelle tells Leah that Heather wanted her to drink on this trip. Then Heather says, well, I read your book. She says that to Leah. So then Leah says, well, if you read my book and you know about addiction, why would you want me to drink? And Gizelle says, really quickly, she's quick to say, it was Heather who said that. Boom, threw her under the bus, but us Potomac watchers were not surprised at all. but Leah is really dramatic. She's going around telling people that Heather wants her to relapse. Like, really, that's a pretty strong statement. Then they all have a lunch. And Porsha is talking about the success that she has experienced since the Real Housewives of Atlanta, all the amount of followers and recognition that she has gotten because it was almost instant. And even though she's not on the show anymore, she doesn't understand why some other women who also have left the show start bashing it, which is like shade because we all know of many of them like that, like especially Bethany Frankel, who have done that. When at the end of the day, it's because of the Housewives brand that made them go up. Then Leah is asked, what the hell is going on with New York Housewives? Are they coming back? And then Gizelle says, are you even a housewife? She has no idea what's going on. Then Gizelle takes it away. She tells Heather that they had a FaceTime last week before the trip, and Heather had said that her and Whitney weren't cool, that they weren't getting along. So Gizelle brings that up, and Heather again is shocked. And she's like, wow, this is giving me like Linda Tripp vibes. I never knew you were recording our conversation. But then before you know it, Whitney and Heather start to go at it. And Whitney is still mad that Heather hasn't been as supportive to her as she was with Jen. But it really all started when they were in that girls trip in Salt Lake City season 3. Remember when they were at Arizona with the lingerie and Whitney exposed that secret about Lisa Barlow? Heather says that Whitney did all that for TV. And many of them agree. And they come to Heather's defense, especially Alexia. But they table the conversation for later. They all go to their rooms, rest, and then much later, they get ready and they head out. In one vehicle, it's Alexia, Marysol, and Heather, and then in the other one, it's the rest. But Candiace was left behind because she wasn't hurrying up. So Heather thanks Alexia for having her back at lunch, and then they all agree that Gizelle's asking way too many questions. And then in the other bus or car or whatever it is, they're all talking trash about Heather. Leah is saying some crazy things, saying that Heather's trying to interfere with her sobriety. It's crazy. And then Whitney says that Heather only cares about the followers, and she's really giving a bad impression of Heather to the rest of the girls. So once they're at dinner, once again, Marysol says something in Spanish, which was about the food, I think, or something like that. And Gizelle again says no talking in Spanish. But then when Candiace arrives by herself and hears them speak Spanish, she says she loves that they're speaking Spanish. She loves their Spanglish or whatever. So like, just look at the difference. Then Mezzy Gizelle says, let's play a first impressions game. What could go wrong, I thought. So she was saying like, let's say our first impressions, who was the best, who was the worst. And before you know it, she's stirring the pot and pins it on Heather and Leah. Leah wants to make this thing into something that it's not, because when they first saw each other, when they arrived, Heather very kindly, in my opinion, because they did show the flashback, told Leah, are you going to drink? Like, I really want to help you. If you don't want to drink, then I'll feel guilty. Like, I want to help you with your sobriety. And Leah is saying that she was mocking her. She was making a mockery out of it. But they kind of go back and forth a little bit, but Heather apologizes if it was taken out of context, and they quickly make up and get over it. But unfortunately for Heather, a lot of the women were giving her the worst impression titled, so I kind of feel bad for her. But then the Miami girls, Alexia and Marysol, actually give that title to Gizelle. Especially Alexia says that Gizelle asks way too many questions, which is okay because she thinks that Miami needs like someone who asks questions. But she says that she thinks that Gizelle does it so that she won't speak about her personal business. Candiace quickly agrees because she knows her more than anyone else there. And Gizelle says that it's not true, of course. So then Whitney says that she was really surprised to meet Candiace and that she's really nice because she didn't have the best impression about her before the trip because of the way that she treated Ashley Darby with her, and she was kind of like mom shaming her in a way. So then Candiace tries to explain herself and says that she felt that Ashley was doing like the reverse of mom shaming towards Candiace because she didn't have kids and now she's going through IVF, and they're saying that maybe, you know, that she should have like watched her words because now look at her struggle. So then before you know it, Porsha jumps in and says, Well, I think that what happened was that after Candiace grew, and then Candiace is like, wait a minute, what do you mean grew? And then Porsha's like, well, if you would let me finish, you would understand what I'm saying. And Porsha is kind of reading her, like, not directly, but she's kind of saying, I think that Candiace, once she started to see that these issues were going to affect her personally, that's when she's probably started to notice that maybe some of those comments she shouldn't have said. And Candiace said, oh no, I know what I said, and I was saying it to be mean. And Porsha's like, okay, well, if that's your case, then you're effed up. Not like a big explosive fight, because Candiace is smart. She knows that she can't win against Porsha. Porsha will eat you up. And that was the end of the episode, and it's going to get so much crazy. Like I said, there are 3 episodes that were released. This is just the first one. I'll be covering the other ones soon. But you guys, this show, go watch it please on Peacock. It is so good, and I feel like because almost all of these women are pretty big personalities, that's why it's really making it like spark. So I am so excited about this trip. It looks like it's going to be a hell of a ride. But like I said, this is the first episode. Please don't forget to like and subscribe so that you wouldn't miss my next recaps on the next episodes that are going to be following. So I'll catch y'all next time, and y'all have a great one. Bye.